Jessica, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are the Hive. It's where business owners come together to find some peace of mind and some freedom. And today with me, I have again, Tara Bethel. She's with Quail Consulting. And today we're talking about handbooks. And I know, you're just riveted and on the edge of your seat. Handbooks, everybody is dying to get one. They're the latest hot topic, are they not? No. But I'm going to tell you why they should be. Because as we were talking about a minute ago, we don't go into business so that we can work our ass off. I'm going to go ahead and say it. We don't go to business to work our ass off, to be stressed out 24/7, to think about things in the shower going, oh my God, I forgot that again. Like, I don't know about you, but I still do that all the time. And I consider myself an expert on trying not to do that. But there's just too much for business owners to know. And I think handbooks are one of those things. And I'm going to admit right now, I don't have one, but I know I need one. So the questions I'm going to ask you and the things we're going to talk about today are for me, because I feel like if I have those questions, you guys do too. And so we're going to see what we can do to kind of dispel the myth and explain why it's important from one business owner to the next.
Sounds great.
Okay. So before we do, let's get a little bit of your background real quick. So why should we even trust what you have to say?
I've been in the HR space for almost 20 years now.
Whoa.
I keep trying to get out of it, but
please don't.
But I have a knack for it, so I keep getting sucked back in. And I was a senior vice president of human resources and risk management for almost 13 years at a large nonprofit. And then I had the opportunity to learn consulting, and then I went out on my own in 2017. And that's when Quail was born, so that I could magnify my impact for other businesses and not just work for a single
Do you regret
entity.
it?
No, not at all.
Yep. Okay, so you obviously have the chops. You obviously have been there. You've worked with small and large.
Correct.
And so you know, no matter what size businesses, if I have one employee, do I need a handbook?
Yes.
Why?
Because a lot of business owners, they start hiring friends or family members right away. And you may start great, but then things could actually turn sour at times. Often. And then it also is an accountability tool as well, so that everyone knows, whether they're family, whether they're a bestie, a neighbor, they know exactly what's expected of them. And there's no surprises, no secrets. Also, if you're growing like gangbusters, which is ideal, right? You're going to bring in people you don't know as well. And so you're definitely going to want your handbook in place before you start hiring people, because once you get a bunch of folks jamming along, you know, maybe you're in the same space and you have a lot of good water cooler talk and you're on the same page. But once you start to disperse a little bit into different cubes or offices or locations or states, then it's really going to get complex to know if the left hand knows what the right hand's doing. So
what are some of like the basic things that someone should put in, like bare minimums, you need these things?
I'm a proponent of starting with culture first.
So explain that.
So welcome letter from the owner, founder, CEO, maybe a photo as well. It's okay. You know, talk about your mission, vision, values, your purpose statement, your core values, whatever you have. And then you're going to start to go into the legal, usually federal pieces first, just to make sure you're covering all of your bases. Then maybe you go into state compliance, or you can save your state compliance legal items for the back end if you're in multiple states as addendums. But you want to make sure, first and foremost, all your legal compliance pieces are in there.
And what are those?
So I would say it's the alphabet soup of HR. So all of these, 3, 4, 5, 6 letter acronyms. So your ADA, your EEOC, your NLRB, those kinds of things to make sure everybody knows that you are fully compliant with these things. You're happy to be compliant with these. Here's what they are and what employee number you need to start including each of these in. Some things start with 10 employees. Some things start with 15 employees.
And do you build it out, even though you have one, do you go ahead and build it out saying, should we get to 10? Should we get to 50 then? Or do you wait till you get to that point and then add those?
It depends on what your growth trajectory is looking like. And so you could keep them out of the handbook to start, to keep it really simple and short if you have less than 10 employees. But there's other things you're going to want in there. How do you handle performance evaluations, compensation? How do you pay people? What's your progressive discipline policy look like? You know, should you have someone who needs that at times? Ideally, they won't need it, but if you are being proactive with them, then at least they know what to expect.
So that's usually when I think of handbooks, it's usually things like it states the holiday pay. Because everybody's like, oh, well, it's President's Day. Do we get that day off? So it'll be in the handbook.
Yes. Benefits.
Yeah. Whether or not how often do you get raises? And then the other thing is then the more punitive, I guess is the only word I can come up with, side is like, okay, what happens if this gets broken or if that gets broken? And that's the side that I feel like most business owners don't want to talk about because they don't want to be the cop in their business. But you have to, because then you don't it's kind of like raising a toddler with no rules.
Exactly.
And then it's like you have no rules. This kid's bouncing all over the place and you're like, I don't know what to do. Well, if you had it all spelled out.
Right.
Then it would be like, oh no, you are, jumping on the sofa. It says right here, if you jump on the sofa, then you go to timeout.
Exactly.
So how much of that, like, how strict do you have to be?
I would say write it how you would want to receive it.
Okay.
Let me caveat that a little bit. I mean, it's got to be legally compliant, professional, but make sure it's simple, easy to understand language.
Okay.
So for some companies, like their dress code, I mean, it's 2 pages and it delineates the length of skirt, the length of pants, the color of belts. Wow. That need to match shoes. You have to be in a suit and tie on certain days. Or you can be casual. Sleeveless is allowed. Sleeveless is not allowed. All kinds of things. And then other companies, they approach it more of, hey, we are business casual office. That's what you need to aim for and be groomed and clean every day, looking good, and then we'll talk to you if we have a problem.
Right.
Sort of thing. So you can get as specific as you want, but just know that the more specific you get, the more you've got to hold yourself to that.
Okay, so I can't wait to ask this next question, but before I do, I want to say, if I, the owner, put in there no shorts, and then I, the owner, show up in shorts, then what?
So
is that an issue?
It is, because you're not operating in a way that's in line. It doesn't necessarily break a law, but you're not operating your business in line with what you're asking others to do. So more likely than not, it's going to be a morale killer. Okay.
And that's just as important because I know there's a lot of business owners that like, well, yeah, I know I told them not to eat at their desk, but I'm the boss and I can eat at my desk if I want to. Yes. And you wonder why they have an attitude with you.
Yeah. You need to set the example. Leadership starts from the top.
Okay. So now my question, I can't wait to ask. What is the craziest thing you've ever seen in a handbook? Because I'm going to tell you, I did some research and somebody actually has no sword fighting in their handbook.
You know what's funny is, especially when I look at old lists of unacceptable conduct, kinds of lists that can be a page, page and a half, 2 pages. I haven't seen swords, but I have seen nunchucks and brass knuckles, because usually they'll say no weapons brought onto company property, including knives, machetes, nunchucks, brass knuckles, things, and then guns.
Wow.
And so to me, that says maybe they've had an issue. I don't know if they had a lot of anime fans or something like that.
That's what I was thinking about the sword fight. And I'm like, what? Like, do they make swords? And then maybe they're trying them out in the middle of the factory or something? I don't know. You never know. You can't take it out of context. So going through my notes real quick. So we have, how do we get started? So I, as I mentioned, I don't have one. And quite frankly, the idea of writing one, my first instinct, which as we just discussed is not a good idea, but my first instinct is like, I can do this. I can do it myself. So I'm going to go find a template and AI, and it's going to spit out a bunch of stuff. And then I'm going to look at it and go, yeah, no, I can't do this. And I'm going to walk away and it's never going to get done. So now what?
That's where a lot of companies find themselves. or they use a pre-made template from their payroll system that is so generic, but it hardly covers anything and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
So a waste of money.
So if it's included, you could take a look at it, but I wouldn't pay extra for those HR modules. I would work with someone, a consultant, an HR firm, an employment law attorney who's going to help you. Because the truth is, if you grab a template off of the internet or you use an AI tool, it might give you a start, but how are you going to double check that you have every state law, every federal law? Do you have things that don't apply to you that shouldn't be in there and they're just taking up space and clogging up understanding? Those kinds of things. And then are you defining your people correctly, part-time versus full-time, and salary versus exempt, which is different than, are they eligible? I mean, salary or hourly versus exempt, non-exempt, different things. So making sure those are all delineated correctly.
Okay.
Are you able to double check that? I mean, you, with your background, bookkeeping, possibly.
But even for me, it gets sketchy sometimes. Because I think you and I have talked about several times, trying to differentiate. A lot of clients get very confused about what's the difference between a W-2 and a 1099.
Right.
And we've had that conversation so many. In fact, we did a podcast on it. And it's still a topic that a lot of people get confused on. And I think if we spelled it out in the handbook, then from the very beginning, then even for the business owner can be like, oh no, here's my checklist. No, you're clearly over in this category.
The owner, the manager, the HR person, or the office manager with other duties assigned who's doing HR for your company. You know, it's all defined very clearly, plus for the employee.
So stay away from the payroll versions. And so then we find a consultant, if you want me to vet her. I've already done it. She's great. So then we reach out to you, and then what? Then you come sit down with us, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think a good consultant will interview you. What's important to you? What's currently going on with your business? Where are you headed in the next few years?
Okay.
So if you are 5 employees and you think you'll double in a year, then we're really putting, all the teeth in it sooner than later. If you think, no, I probably won't get to 10 employees for 5 years, then it might be a little bit different story.
Okay.
Plus, I also want to get, like I said, learn about your culture. Then we can do all of our intro pieces. So it's not just that rule book, that hardcore, this is where we beat you down with all of our policies and procedures.
Right. Okay. And then
I start to write in the pieces that I know that you need based on your current state and your future state.
Okay. And so then you do all the legal side, which that I like. I can zone out on that part. I don't understand any of it, but we're going to trust that you're going to make sure that everything's in there. And other than to show that we're compliant, is there any other reason why those pieces are so important? Is there like an audit, like a compliance auditor that's going to come through and make sure that we have stated those things to our employees?
There could be at times. And normally what happens is an employee gets upset about one small thing, and then they try to make trouble, and they're going to try to blow the lid off of your business. So maybe it's they didn't get paid on time. They didn't get paid the accurate amount. They feel like they weren't paid out vacation time when they left, and they should have been. They had to work through their lunches. You didn't give them a leave of absence, whatever it is, sort of thing. And then, so they make a claim with one of these federal entities, either at the state level or at the federal level. And then that's when folks come in. You've now been looked at or been assigned now an investigator to get in the weeds and see if there's any merit to this claim.
And if you don't have it written down, you're pretty much screwed.
And so, yes. Or if you have it written down, but you're not following it, then you're opening yourself up to liability as well.
Okay. I think that's where I'm going to have my trouble is following it. I'm kind of I don't like the rules.
Well, and I think, when you work with a consultant or an attorney, there is a back and forth. It should be a somewhat iterative process of here's what I recommend. What can you live with? And you say yes or no. And if you are like, no, it's too restrictive or stringent for our culture or for how I operate, then I take it back and say, okay, let me pare it down a little bit more while it's still compliant, but it fits more to you.
Okay, good. Because if it's too structured, then I'm going to be like, I don't want nothing to do with that.
Right, right.
Yeah, I don't like to be stuck in a box. Don't put baby in a corner.
That's right.
Okay, so no AI, hire a consultant. We have the document. We've done the interview. You hand us the document. Then what? How do we make it part of day-to-day operations?
My recommendation as a consultant is normally I will help a business owner roll it out.
Okay, good.
I want to make sure that you fully understand everything in there. You're willing to live by it. And then we talk about the communications plan. So usually I would recommend I come to your next all staff or all hands meeting. And then we dedicate a good chunk of the time or all of the time to rolling out the new handbook, especially if it's brand new for folks and they've never had a handbook in your environment. So we're going to go like Reader's Digest. Remember Reader's Digest?
Yeah.
So we'll go by like the highlights of like each section
good.
quickly, and then we'll give a copy to everyone or make it available on your intranet. And then they will have some time to read through it and then sign it.
Okay.
Electronically would be ideal. Some people still like paper copies though.
Yeah.
And then it's a living document. So we don't want it to be put on a shelf or just be at the bottom of the homepage of the intranet. We want it to be a living, breathing document where they can access it regularly. Anyone can access it because sometimes we forget what we do in this certain situation. We don't have people that have, need maternity leave very often in such a small group. So what is our plan around leave of absence and those sorts of things? No one has to memorize it and keep this in their brains all the time. So we just put it in the handbook so it's there when you need it.
And how often should you review it if you have one?
If there is changing law throughout the year, then you do it throughout the year. I would say review it no less than once a year.
Okay.
Ideally, if there is new legislation going into effect that will impact your business, if you can wait till December, see what's coming, make sure it actually goes into law and into effect, then do it in January. Have all your edits ready. And then it's like, okay, new year, new you, new handbook.
Right.
And then electronically sign the new version and make it available.
So would you reach out to us? Because we got enough stuff on our plate to try to remember. Is that something as a consultant you do? You reach back out and go, hey, look, there's been changes. We need to update.
Absolutely. That's what I do for my clients.
Yeah. Because I could see right now that'd be something I would not get around to doing. And it would be like 6 years.
Oh, for sure. And that's what can happen too. And so then people are operating outside the bounds of certain laws because they didn't even realize there were changes. Like when the paid sick time law came into effect in Arizona, that was a big thing. And some people, that was 2017. Some people still don't have that in their handbooks.
No, I know they don't.
They're like, we just do vacation or PTO. And I'm like, well, does it say that it can also be used for sick time purposes? Right. If not, you're missing the boat on small things like that.
Right.
Which could have a big downstream impact on you.
But I mean, not just, so again, the impact and trying to keep in mind, we're trying to make these business owners less stressed. But it's not just somebody's complaining because we didn't give them a right and then they give them what they were due according to the handbook and then they went and complained and now we have that. But it's also a financial side. Like we could be missing out on, it could cost us more money in the long run by not having these things in place. I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but it's not just financial, it's stress, it's culture, it's structure, which I think a lot of the really small business owners, I think that's what they need the most is some structure and consistency. And especially as you're starting to grow, you want to have that framework so everybody you bring in matches. And if they don't match that framework, then you need to consider whether or not that person's the right fit. Like, for example, if you have a policy that everybody needs to come into the office at work, but this one person just can't, then you need to decide if that person's a good fit for you.
All right. The work from home discussion and returning to the office need to be set in there, especially if you're changing what you've been doing in practice. It needs to be archived.
Do you find that's a big issue right now? Because there's a lot of discussion about people doing that return to work and it's not going as well. I hear it on the news sometime, like bigger companies like, oh no, we're going to start forcing our people to come back to work and like, yeah, that's not working. So we're going to do a hybrid. Like, are you hearing that?
Absolutely. Most of the large size companies are definitely mandating people come back into the office. Hopefully they're giving their people at least a buffer of time because maybe they've just bought a puppy or they have a newborn. They need to change up their child care or their elder care kinds of commitments that they have right now, or they're doing carpool or something. So give them some time before that goes into effect. And then others are kind of finding that middle road with a hybrid so that everyone can get their downtime and uninterrupted deep work time, but then they also have collaborative time. I'm a fan of the hybrid. And then some are just staying completely remote because they got rid of their office space and they're like, I don't want to take that liability back on.
I have a friend of mine who is in the insurance industry, and she has worked from home for a long time, and she's taking care of an elderly grandmother. I'm trying to remember, over 100.
Wow.
And so,
Awesome.
I think she's like 103 or something like that. But anyway, don't quote me on that number. But she's been working from home for quite a while. And so the company had a shift and they're trying to push everybody back to work. And she's like, I can't. Like, I'm taking care of my grandmother. And she said something interesting that I want to just kind of point out. She's like, I'm more productive at home because when I'm at work, everybody stops and talks to me.
Right.
And I'm constantly getting interrupted. Where at least when I'm at home, I can just like focus in and just be like, no, I'm doing this and only this. And I don't have to worry about everybody stopping by my cubicle to ask me what I did over the weekend.
Absolutely. I was in office until 2017 when I started my consulting practice. And the same thing, I had an open door policy. I was interrupted all the time.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for it to be 4:00 when things died down. And then I would start my real work.
That's what I do now. I'm laughing because that's my day right now, because I laugh because I get up and I'm at my desk. Even though I work from home, I am religious. I am at my desk at 8:00 unless it's been a super late night.
Earlier.
I mean, dead last. Like, I'm like tardy. I should write myself a slip, but I'm usually at my desk by 8. And it's like, again, excuse the phrase, balls to the wall until about 3. And then I look, I'm like, oh my God, I'm starving. What's wrong with me? And I haven't eaten. All I've had is coffee. I'm like, I need a break. And so I eat. And then it's like, okay, my girls only stay until like 2:00. And so they leave. And finally at 3:30, 4:00, 5:00, the phone stopped ringing. And now I can get to work.
Right.
Like,
you finally had a snack.
Yeah.
And then get a second win and do your own stuff.
Yeah, focus time. Because other than that, the phones are ringing. People have questions. You got to problem solve. Is any of that like are those? So those are problems that I deal with all the time. Is there some relief in a handbook for stuff like that, or?
Absolutely, because it goes back to what are your expectations, and then you can hold people accountable to that. So if it's, maybe they're here 3 days a week or 4 days a week, and then you have that one downtime day, more so than having to do it 3 to 5 p.m. or 5 to 7 p.m. after they leave. And, what's the expectation? Plus also, if they're hourly versus salaried, are they expected to take calls later in the evening or not? So I would definitely, just lay it all out and make sure. Of course, it's in compliance with the laws around timekeeping, but what's your expectation for your people? And I think to think through it.
I think that's really where it's at. It's like my gut, when you ask me that, if you were to be interviewing me right now and you ask me that question, what's your expectation for your people? I'd be like, get their job done. Like, I don't think beyond the task. And I think that's my shortfall, is because I don't, until I run across those problems, they're not even in my window. Just like, get your job done. Like, I need you to complete this task so that other things can happen. But then what happens if somebody calls out every week because they have family emergencies? And then I, the owner, am left frustrated because I don't have anything in place to deal with that. And now I have to be the bad cop, and I don't want to be the bad cop.
Well, it's something we could definitely try to think through on the front end, putting your handbook into play, just based on how you've been operating. And then if there's things you want to tighten up, that's a good time to do that. Hey, team, we're getting more professional, more organized. And then as soon as new people are hired, then they come into the fold and they understand what's expected of them. It's not a shock to them.
What about social media? Sorry. Something just popped in my head. What about, can you put things in there about social media?
Absolutely. I've got great policies for that.
Okay.
On how to protect yourself.
Yeah, don't go there and talk about our company on social media.
Right.
Is that enforceable?
Absolutely. They sign the handbook.
Okay.
Or you can request that they put on there, the opinions shared on this account are my own and do not in any way represent those of my employer.
Okay. Wow. There's lots to it. It's not just paid time off and
holidays and the good stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. There's so much more to it. So the gist of it is, if you don't have one, even if you have one, get one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't trust AI or the payroll. I mean, it's going to give you, not like it's horrible, but it's the bare minimums. And if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right.
Right, because it may not be accurate.
Right. And that could get you in more trouble than not having one at all sometimes.
Or maybe it's so stringent, you don't want to follow it. And
right.
then you're opening yourself up to liability.
And then the other thing I'm getting is culture is important, which that sounds like a topic for another day that we need to talk about. Like, what is company culture and how that impacts a company and that kind of stuff. Because there's so many different, anyway, I don't want to go down that road because I would get on a whole different podcast now.
I'll just add one thing though, back to your social media comment, is you could have a really stringent social media policy. And then there's other types of industries where they want their employees on social media. They do want them promoting the company. And there still needs to be guardrails around that, how they use it and how much they use it during the day.
Right.
But they are expected to be on social media a good chunk of their day if they work in marketing agency life,
right?
Let's say. So that's another thing where I would want to talk to you. What is your need? What's your tolerance? What makes sense for all of you, and not just pull something right off the internet.
It sounds like every business that you work with is there's no cookie cutters. There's like
correct.
Everything is slightly tweaked and
online. That's what they're trying to provide you. So that's why I say it might be a decent base template, but it's going to need a lot of finesse and nuance to make it a great document for you.
Wow. Okay. What am I overlooking?
I would say if you are a right to work state,
okay,
then you need to have the at-will language.
Okay.
In your handbook. I like to put it at the beginning and the end just to make sure we're all on the same page. And for those of you, if you're not familiar, that is that, we are not beholden to keep you forever. We can terminate you with or without notice at any time for any reason or no reason. You can leave the company with or without notice at any time as well.
So let me clarify that, because so a lot of clients from the accounting side, they're like, oh, well, I can let them go at any time. Yes, you can, but that doesn't mean you get away from paying unemployment.
For sure. I mean, we'd want to make sure everything's documented, and there's some things to think through before you just.
And that's another good point. Like, before you go and terminate them just because, you should probably have a conversation and be like, okay, what am I looking at if I do this? Like, what's my best case?
Your documentation, and of course, when I ask about what's your documentation been, I will ask you, what does your handbook say?
Yeah.
That's the first thing before I recommend if you move forward with termination, or you back up a step and make sure you have all your progressive discipline done.
Yeah.
I can what's your
speak
handbook
from experience, letting people go can be very scary. Like it's not, I think that's scarier than hiring them.
Oh, for sure.
Well,
when you hire someone, it's all roses, rainbows, and unicorns. Everyone's excited. And again, that's why you need the handbook, because at some point, even if it's your bestie from childhood and you've never argued ever in a work situation, again, things could go sour. And then what are you going to do? Well, you're going to turn to your handbook. Well, how does it say we should address this kinds of conduct, or this, these sorts of things, or this dress code issue or whatnot? And then at least it's not so personal and subjective, and it doesn't feel, hopefully, attacking at all. And it's like, hey, here's what we say we're about. So I just want to call this to your attention, because it's there in black and white. So it makes it much more objective and takes some of that angst out of the equation. So
do you help have those conversations? So from time to time, I get somebody who's like, I don't know what to do. She's doing this or that. And I'm like, don't ask me. I'm just the bookkeeper.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I can either coach someone and give them talking points, or if they want me to be a part of it.
Will you come in and do it?
I'll absolutely do it.
Oh, yeah. Not that I'm planning on firing anybody soon, but they're going to know when you walk in the door.
Well, ideally, I'm there for good stuff as well, so they don't.
We'll invite you to all the birthday parties.
Yes, I don't want to be like George Clooney.
Exactly.
Yes, and up in the air, and yes, who's the termination specialist.
That's so great and so bad all at the same time. I want to change topics real quick. You recently made a big change in your accounting.
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? I'm excited about this one too.
Yes. So I was like the typical business owner. I was like, I can do it all myself. I'm going to save the money. And I have 2 business degrees. I have my undergrad from ASU. I have an MBA from Grand Canyon. And I'm like, no problem. I've got a QuickBooks account. So I'm fine, right? QuickBooks is good. It tries to idiot-proof it for people like me as much as it can. And I even put time on my calendar every Friday, time block, to match my receipts with my charges, reconcile my stuff. And do you know the last time I reconciled my books?
I happen to know it, but do you want to tell them?
Yes, I think it was like April or August of 2024. And as of this recording, we are in 2026. So I have not been keeping up with it as well as I should have. I've been managing more so looking at my bank account rather than my QuickBooks account. So
but that's common. I believe it. And that's why I asked you to mention it, because that's the standard, is people look at their bank accounts as a judge to how they're doing.
I've got cash flow. Yeah. There's cash in it. So I can flow it out of there. So that's what I consider my cash flow accounting.
Yep.
So I was here working with you on another project, and I said, you know what? Would you work me up a quote? Because I think I really need to get this off my plate so I can focus on what I'm good at, which is the HR side, the people side, and get myself out of the numbers game, because I'm terrible at it. And therefore, I don't do it as often as I should and as meticulously as I should. So
she's starting out. We're going to have her come back in a couple months and well, sooner than later. And because we'll have your stuff done very shortly. And then we'll see how it's going for you, and we'll just check in. But I just wanted you to kind of tell that to our listeners, because that is the common, I can do it. Mm-hmm. I balanced my checkbook for years. Okay, but that's not, so I'm going to tell you right now, what the audience, whatever the listeners can't see, is right there is a big table saw. I mean, it's right there, and it's sitting right there, brand new, never used. You know why? Because I know how to use it, but I don't know how to use it safely. And accounting is the same way. Just because you have the tools and the equipment and you can do it doesn't mean you're doing it well or right.
Right.
And so I find a lot of people who try to do it, I won't try it with that saw because I happen to need all my fingers. Absolutely. So I'm waiting to be properly trained before I turn that puppy on, and I haven't been trained yet. So.
And in that vein, HR is the same. People are like, hey, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I can do HR for my own company. I get along great with everyone. And that's when, back to one of your earlier comments about handbooks can help us keep from overspending, right? So here's an example, is it depends on how much do you pay your employees for different things. If you don't have it written down and you're just like, no, just take, as much PTO as you want, I'll just pay you.
Right.
Are they calculating that? And then when they let the next person, oh no, you only get a week's worth or 2 weeks or 3 weeks worth in a year. So more dollars are going out the door than you realize. It's not equitable, first and foremost, which you want to reconcile. But also, if you're paying for some leaves of absence, but not others, you're not treating them the same, but you're also potentially way more cash going out than needs to be.
Right.
If you have it harnessed within your parameters in your handbook.
Question. When you do these things, when you meet with someone new, is the accounting side in consideration of those things? I mean, I'm just wondering, I'm just curious, thinking totally outside the box for a second. I wonder if those things, if there's a collaboration there when sitting down with the business owner. And I'm not saying me specifically as a bookkeeper, but sitting down with the bookkeeper and going, okay, you want to do this, but can your finances support this? Mm-hmm. So in other words, for example, I want to give them a month's paid time off. Well, looking
For
at your
sure.
cash flow, is that a realistic thing? Because if you promise them you're going to do it,
Yes.
can you back it up?
And if you're going to add employee headcount this
Right.
year, will that put you in a tough space?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's other things too that I make sure are in the handbook and I'll interview the owner about is, do you give corporate credit cards out and what's the process for that?
Yes.
And, payables, receipts, and those kinds of things. What's your process on some of those financial things? And do you have a whistleblower policy in there about financial misbehavior and shenanigans going on, and who are they going to report about? But definitely the whole budgeting piece around the different benefits and perks that you add. I mean, I ask them, this is something you're going to have to live up to. So it's going to come out of the owner's pocket. If you over promise, you can't under deliver.
Right.
But if you under budget, it's coming from you and your reserves.
Right. There is so much more to this than I considered.
So there's definitely a beautiful dovetail between HR
Right.
and accounting, finance folks.
I
for sure.
totally agree with that. Okay. Am I missing anything else?
I think we're in good shape. Yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm missing? Appointment to get mine done.
Yes.
We need to book that.
We'll talk about that next.
We're going to get that done. So not only is she going to come back and tell us how the accounting's going, I'm going to come back and tell you how my handbook went. With that, thank you so much for joining us today. With us again is Tara Bethel. She's with Bethel. Sorry,
Yes.
not Betha.
You got it.
She's with Quail Consulting. She's a good friend and a great consultant to have on your team as well. And I want to just tell you, if you're a business owner and you're struggling with life and trying to get that balance, and if you are not truly enjoying your life and going out and doing the things you love, there's a better way. Come reach out and find us. We'll talk to you soon.